Do you care if we ask you a couple questions for our English project?
No, it's not me.
Okay. What do you think a collectivist society is?
What do I think a collectivist society
Yes.
is? Probably a society that makes collective decisions. So maybe like Russia,
Do you think that's better than an individualist society?
a society that thinks for themselves.
Yes.
It depends on what they're thinking about.
Okay.
Are they being individuals for the greater good? Or
Yes.
for,
Like you work for your own success and you don't have to share your wealth with other people to a certain extent.
I disagree. I think that it is better to help everybody, to help each other.
Going in.
We going in? Word.
Dr. Glow, come here. Alright, do you know what a collectivist society is?
I think it's a society like a socialistic society.
Do you know what an individualist society is?
I think it's a society that values the individual
Okay, which
more
one do you
than
think is better?
the collective. I think in China it's a collective society. I think the group is more important than the individual. In the United States, the individual is more important than the collective society.
Do you think there's a spot in the middle of both societies where it can create a perfect society?
I don't know about perfect, but I think if you can value the collective and the individual, I think that schools or in the classrooms, we as teachers try to value the individual students' contribution as well as the collective contribution when students work in cooperative groups or work in pairs or work in trios. I think there's a place for both.
Do you know what an individualist society is?
Everyone kind of has their own ideas and beliefs.
Do you think there can be a point in between the two where it creates perfect society?
I guess if the leaders are more individualist and have their own idea, then inspire other people to do so.
Thank you. Alright, do you know what a collectivist society is?
Collectivist society? Collectivist society would be so much the idea of living in a commune. Group of people living together, they share equally in responsibilities, share equally in rewards. They tend not to be centralized in leadership or hierarchical.
Do you know what an individualist society is compared to that?
Individualist societies tend to focus on the individual as the primary force, the primary holder of individual rights, etc. They tend to drift towards a hierarchical society, to one of economic disparity.
Alright, which one would you think is better?
Given historical patterns, I think the individualistic society wins out.
Do you think there's a spot in between the two where it can create a perfect society?
No, there's no such thing as a perfect society. It's a trade-off of different ideas.
Do you know what a collectivist society?
Collectivist society is people don't think for themselves and they just go around and do what other people want them to do.
Okay, do you think that's better than an individualist society?
No, because I want people to think independently and be their own, be confident consumers and do what they think is appropriate for themselves.
3. Okay, do you know what a collectivist society is?
I would assume that I'm assuming here, I don't know what that means,
Okay.
that it would be a group of people who adapt and adopt the same ideas. And
Okay, do you think that's better than an individualist society?
no, because I'm an independent thinker, and I think that that to me makes leaders as opposed to followers.
I think there is a spot in between those two societies that can be
That can live together?
Yes, that can make a very good perfect
Yes,
society.
I don't believe in any one extreme.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Moderation.
Collectivist society is we. There is no I, only the group. Collectivism is where it's at. I think individualism and individualist societies are completely arrogant and corrupt, and that's where a lot of our problems come from in our society. Individualists who want to kill each other to get what they want.
So I'm going to assume that you think collectivist society is better.
Yes, comrade.
Now, do you think there's a point in between the two societies that can create a perfect society?
Absolutely, maybe.
I have a tail. I just realized I have a tail.
What do you think a collectivist society is?
A society that works for the collective good of the people. What is best for the group overall instead of individual? The focus is on the group as opposed to the individual. Many would say the United States is an individualist society.
Which one do you think is better?
I think it's better. I would say in general, an individualist society is better. I would say that because in a collectivist society, especially a collectivist economy, you see the idea of incentive disappears somewhat,
Okay.
and people don't work as hard because they have no individual incentive to work hard.
Do you think there's like a equal spot in the middle where it would create a perfect system?
An equal spot. I think what the United States tries to do, and other mixed market economies and mixed market systems try to do, is find that equilibrium between individualism and collectivism. Because certainly there's some aspects of collectivism which make for a better society. You don't want people just thinking about themselves.
I believe if Obama and Reagan could sit down at a table and talk about the perfect America, we would have the perfect blend of collectivism and individualism.